Indeed, time for the debate. First, we need to tell you, sometimes we focus a little bit too much on the urgent and not on the important. So here's the important news. The universe is expanding faster than we thought. A trio of US-born astronomers winning the Nobel Physics Prize this Tuesday for that finding, a finding which implies that the cosmos will end in frozen nothingness. It's fascinating stuff. Now, you might ask, to put it bluntly, well, so what? Do we care? In these belt-tightening times, the pressure is on so-called basic or fundamental sciences. In the coming hour, we're going to hear from guests who strongly believe that these seemingly abstract endeavors really do matter to you and me. Which governments are making research a top priority, and what will happen to those left behind? On that point, which universities and countries are attracting the brightest minds these days? Today in the France 24 debate, we're discussing science at what cost with the French physicist Didier Châtenay. Didier, you're a member of Sauvons la Recherche, the SAVE Research Committee. What is that?
It was a committee which was funded a few years ago in a situation where we had the feeling that fundamental science was in danger. So,
still in danger today?
By some aspects, yes. One might think we're still in danger.
We'll get to that in a moment. Also with us, Ludovic Garattini. He's with the European Council of Doctoral Candidates and Junior Researchers, excuse me.
Yes, yeah.
And so that's people from more than 30 countries across the continent.
Exactly. We prefer using early stage researchers instead of junior researchers. It shows the research as a career. So we are entering as soon as we get in the PhD, real career path as professionals. So it's gathering something like 37 countries, 33 members for observers. So mainly you close your eyes, you take the European map and the geographical map, you put your finger somewhere and you get a member.
Okay. Also is Armand Adjari. Now, he is on the industry end of things because he's deputy head of research and development for French construction equipment giant Saint-Gobain. And researching for the show, I forgot that Saint-Gobain actually traces its roots back to the mid-17th century.
Yes, that's correct. So it was funded by Louis XIV, Louis le Grand, at the occasion of the Versailles Palace to make the Hall of Mirrors. And from there on, I mean, it was
and you still make glass.
We still make glass, and Louis XIV was named Le Roi Soleil, the Sun King, and we are also using glass to go after the sun for solar energy in many respects. So there's long-term history of innovation of various kind in this company.
Okay, and also with us from London, Jack Grove. He's the European Universities correspondent for the Times Higher Education magazine. And Jack, jealously guarding his 2011 survey of the top universities. He's not breaking that embargo for Thursday, but thanks for being with us. We'll try to maybe needle you for a couple of the trends there at least. Also, by the way, you can follow our discussion always on the France 24 debate Facebook page and on Twitter, where our handle is @François F24. Now, let's again look at that Nobel Physics Prize awarded for proof that the universe is expanding faster and faster. And I'm going to begin with you, Didier Châtenay. This kind of announcement of a Nobel Physics Prize, is it something that within the community of scientists that there's buzz about, there's anticipation before an announcement like this one?
That's indeed the case. We are all interested in what will be the outcome of the announcement, which field would be concerned, which people. So it's always a period of not excitement, but at least intense interest. Mm-hmm.
All right, and we can listen, in fact, to what one member of the Swedish Academy describes as his reason for giving that prize.
This is curiosity-driven research, so it tells us something about the basic equations, the basic laws of nature. So in this sense, we are putting together, pieces to understand what is the basic laws of nature. And this is one brick in that, in that sense. It's not that we're going to use it for new gadgets.
not something you can use for new gadgets, so no practical application. Armand Ajdari, if you went to your bosses, that wouldn't be a great pitch, would it, for a research project?
No, for a research project per se, that wouldn't. It's, as I think was referred, from a fundamental science that's driven by curiosity and intellectual interest. You build competencies, and what industrial companies are looking for is to see how the trends of these competencies that are building will be useful for that company, and you invest not only in the projects for today, but also to build the competencies, to have them in-house or to have a proper network, so as to be able to react on the industrial and economical market when you have the needs.
So these sciences that deal with, again, and the end of the world is something that's billions of years from now. These sciences that deal with that, are they important?
They are important the more because you have to remember that's, I mean, I'm talking as an industrial, but that people who do research are also very often people that teach. And if you want to teach young people research properly, you have to have this excitement, you have to chase some targets, and it's almost the dynamics of chasing the target is as important in the process than what is the object you eventually discover. And these people, if they train properly young engineers and researchers, that's all the benefit for the industries that are behind and harvesting, in some sense, the effort of the academic system.
Jack Grove, is that important, making people dream?
Very much so. I was in Paris last week, and I was speaking to the ministers, and they were saying that it was very important to put together the top researchers with the top students. And in France, you have the disconnect between the Grande École, the organisations, the research organisations, and the universities. And it's very important to put the best people together and use those strengths together. And that's the best way to create the top research projects of the future.
To bring them together, what, with the buzz around something like the announcement of a Nobel Prize?
Well, this is a very important week in science, and these sort of announcements are great for getting people excited about science. In Britain, we have a lot of buzz about science. We have some very high-profile scientists who are getting young people interested in science. More people are studying it at A-level and at university, and that's all good for the economy, which will be a knowledge-driven economy. And those will be the high-tech jobs that people will want in the 21st century.
Ludovic Garattini, when you look at your association of people who are doctoral candidates, is it the same thing? We've all been fed this story that all people want to be is investment bankers nowadays. Is it the same as what he's describing, that there are more and more people interested in science?
Yeah, I wouldn't agree on that. Actually, we all know that we're lacking researchers in Europe, and it's not getting better. This fact has led to the European Union and the institutions to seriously think of some solution to attract a new generation in science. The only thing is that so far, the solution we found were only, let's say, found by people who weren't directly connected to the early stage career of research. The problem is that this looks like for us as wandering in the dark and trying to set the best structure to attract people. We would say in Eurodoc that the best way to deal with that is to use the switches to light the path that are early stage researchers, that us, but we're lacking also this kind of representativity from the institutional level or the research institute till the European Union or the national governments.
Didier Châtenay, are people knocking on the door to get into your lab at the National Science Foundation, the CNRS, or do you have to scan the country looking for possible recruits?
To be honest, at the moment, given the number of positions which are offered by an institution like CNRS, there are plenty of people knocking at the door. There are much more good people who could be part of the CNRS than open positions. So we did not reach a level at which, at least from this point of view, we lack people. what is probably more preoccupying, more worrying, is the number of students which go to the university for long-term studies. This is probably a much
Too many or
worse
too
figure.
few?
Too few, probably. Right.
Why
now.
is that?
Because it's a long-term project. It's very difficult. Perspectives are never clear. I mean, when you start a thesis, you don't know how many positions will be open. In your thesis, it will last 3 years, for instance, in France, plus some years of postdocs. But that means that you don't know what will happen in 5 years from the start of your thesis. So it is very, and basically,
You have to know
most
what
of-
you want.
you have to be really strongly motivated.
What's your experience in the over in the private sector? Is it, do you have to like look to other countries to find recruits, or do you have resumes piling up on your desk?
We have variable situations depending on the countries. Like, so we're a worldwide company, so the market can be different in different countries, and at different times, the more through the kind of troubled time we underwent. A point I wanted to make is that I believe that there are some specificities to the French system, one of which was mentioned by the gentleman from London, with a specificity of the Grandes Écoles and a tradition in industry to hire people with just an engineer diploma. And I think, and it's the belief of our company at least, that the shift will be definitely to hire people after a PhD. And the kind of people we're looking for are people doing PhD in good labs where they've been exposed to international competition, and where after this experience they can justify that they carried a project and they were leader on their project.
So even more studying, what Didier Châtenay
Yeah,
says is what's scaring off a lot of young people. And you're saying you want people who've studied even
Yes,
more.
but what I'm saying is that if we have a shift in the way the companies proceed in terms of offering jobs to these people, then you start the pump, and then you have the very good people at this level that when they make the balance between going for a PhD that is attractive intellectually to them, they don't feel that they will be after these 3-4 years without a job market in case they don't want to continue in academia or other things. So if the industry values this position, and I think the international standpoint will be that one, PhD will be, for good level researcher, the unit diploma, the base diploma. And from that standpoint, the French system has to adapt. We've moved in my company a great deal in this direction. We have a center north of Paris that hires now more than 90% of the people hired in research have a PhD, and this is definitely the direction in which France is moving and other countries are moving. So there will be more and more PhDs in industry.
Jack Grove, is this playing to stereotypes of the way the French are?
Well, the system of the Grande École, I think, is being looked at. They produce some amazing graduates. They have the École Normale Supérieure has 10 Fields Medals winners, 12 Nobel laureates, but it's important to see what they're doing. Where are they going? Are they connecting with industry? Are they going to be going on and doing these long-term projects to create big new technologies, new industries, new jobs for people? I mean, that's really important, and I think that is where the investment needs to be. In England, we have the very well-established research university, and places like Cambridge have created many, many high-tech industries which are employing many people from across the world. So we need to see more of that in France. It's already happening in America. It has been happening for many, many years, but we need to see more of that in France, and we need to break down the divisions between the Grande École, the universities, the specialist schools, and that's the sort of thing that will really help drive forward the economy in the future.
All right. Now, the other factor that we're going to bring in now, let's first give it to you with a bit of an example here. The science world is abuzz over an experiment that was carried out a couple of weeks ago by the folks near Geneva who run the European Centre for Nuclear Research's Large Hadron Collider, an experiment that found that subatomic particles called neutrinos appear, we're not sure yet if it's true, we're still going over the numbers, appear to move faster than the speed of light. That calls into question Einstein's theories. While near Chicago at the same time, the U.S. Department of Energy pulling the plug on another smashing experience, the Tevatron.
Fundamental questions.
The shutdown coming after 20 years of active service.
The Tevatron is being shut down because it is largely superseded by the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, Switzerland. And in our field, we don't keep beating our head if we have been outdone by another machine. We go and work in that machine.
All right, so you have to move with the times. Nonetheless, this comes at a tough time for budget-squeezed U.S. science and space programs. The most glaring example, of course, last March's final manned mission by the Space Shuttle program. My question is, how much of a pinch is research and development feeling? You mentioned, Didier Châtenay, how you were very worried back in 2009 with your association of concerned scientists, and you say, and you said to me, you're still a bit worried today. We see the economy the way it is. We see that we're in austerity measures are being put in place by the French government. What's the situation when it comes to it?
So what we may understand is that under some circumstances, research is not a priority. But it's not what we hear at the moment from the French government, which announces huge amount of money for research. And if you look at real numbers, I mean, there is a recent report from OECD ranking Western countries in terms of their budget for research and development. France is 26, is ranked 26th position, far behind countries like Finland, Sweden, Austria. So there is something that scientists don't understand in between the announcements and the true facts, the amount of money which come to the lab. And what we see is that overall, almost for every lab, this amount of money is rather decreasing rather than increasing. So this is why the situation is kind of worrying for most of the community.
Do you feel the same way? That you get the sense that there's a shrinking pie?
I get the sense that the shrinking part is more located. You're right, actually. I have only to admit that. I wouldn't speak so much about French situation because I'm representing the European members here. But we're looking at the fact that incentives for research might not be conducted in the proper way. For instance, you have all this debate about excellency, who is supposed to be excellent, and we don't think that this kind of incentive is working for what we want to achieve.
A disconnect between what's promised and what's happening. We're going to pick up on that point. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. The France 24 debate continues.